everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Today, I have a very special guest on Gab with Garima. One of my favorite people, our Vice President of Marketing here at Genie, Scott Burgess, is going to be joining me and talking about just branding as a whole. You know, as a company, whether you're a startup or you have been in business for forever, it's always a priority to have a great brand that stands for something so that people know, like you see the Nike logo and you know what that means. You see the Google logo and you know what that means. And that brand stands for something. So Scott's gonna be joining me today and to talk a lot about branding and how he does it and what he thinks about it and what are the steps that you should take as a business to kind of get to the next level. So let's add Scott. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Garima, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what you want to, like, what you think that people make the most mistakes with branding?
Yeah, sure. So I've spent the majority of my career, working for lots of different types of businesses from B2B to B2C. I've worked in major corporations. There were national commercial real estate companies. I've worked for construction companies. I've done small little mom and pop boutiques. I've worked with international companies. I even had my own marketing agency at one point before I ended up here at Genie. So one of my favorite things to do throughout my entire career has always been branding. I love the entire process about branding, from creating the brand, creating the messaging, getting the look down, testing it out, seeing how it's received by the market. It's something I'm really passionate about and something I really enjoy doing. I love the challenge of it. And I can tell you that branding is one of the hardest challenges of marketing, in my opinion. So I have a few tips I'd love to share with everyone, if you let me.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you go ahead and start? What are some of the things that people need to remember when they're thinking about branding?
Yeah, for sure. So the first one that is, can't build a good brand unless you have a basis of what you do and how you do it. So the number one tip for is to know exactly who you are and what you do. And that can come in so many different forms, from understanding what your product is that you're selling to, or your services. I really recommend that people sit down and write out everything you do in a day, whether it's working with people, whether it's how you sell your product, whether it's how you do anything you do throughout the day. I recommend you write it down because that will help you form your messaging.
Who should write it down? Like the person in marketing, or like everybody in the company? Like who's doing that?
So it depends on who's doing your marketing. If you're a small company, it might just be yourself, the business owner. Or if you have a marketing person, it could be that person. But the only way you're going to understand what you do is to write it all down. And it's the only way I found success in doing these huge rebrandings and huge brandings. And they take some time. So if you understand what your mission is, understand your value proposition, then you'll be able to write down and figure out your messaging. And your messaging is very important. It has to be very concise. It has to be very clear for people to understand what you do. And once you get that down pat, everything else will fall in place for the rest of the branding process.
How important, so you mentioned mission and values and those kinds of things. Is that really, I mean, a lot of times I think that when those words are thrown out, people are like, oh, that's like foo-foo, like I don't need that. I know what my business does. How do you kind of bring that home, and how important is that for branding?
It's incredibly important for branding. To bring it home, everyone thinks the mission statement is FUPA. This is just some stupid corporate jargon that people use to just have, but that's not the case. And especially here at Genie, we really do live and we breathe our values. We hire by them, we fire by them. Our mission statement directly relates to what we do, and it's very, very, very to the point. So it's very important for people to write those out and to make them be actionable, make them to be actually be who you are as your brand. Don't just create a mission statement or a vision or have values just to have them. They really should be who you are as a company. And if you look around your company and see that people aren't a part of those values, then there's probably something wrong with it, or there's something wrong with that mission statement. And so I recommend you talk to your employees, talk to team members, talk to your peers to really understand who you are and form that messaging, form those values, form those mission statements around it.
So I think that that's such a great point. I know specifically here at Genie, one of the things that you do really well is we tend to have a lot of great ideas, or maybe they're not so great, but there's like a lot of ideas. And I think one of the things that you do is you kind of always bring us home to be like, wait a second, hold on, that's not part of our mission. And you're right. When we did that mission exercise, it was so specific down to every word. And, for those of you who are wondering, Scott, what is our Genie mission statement?
Way to put me on the spot. Our mission is to provide an automated cloud-based solution that automates accounts receivable for small and medium-sized businesses.
Right. And
Struggling to get
so,
out there a little bit.
sorry. So yeah, like, the words that we have though, like seamlessly and their current business process and integrates, like it's so important. And I know that Scott, you always kind of bring that up to us because it's like, hold on, you might want to do that, or that seems like a great idea, but is that really seamless? And is it really integrated? And does that work with their current process? And that's why we use our mission statement almost as a litmus test, right? For like what we're going to do next. And I think that that's really helpful. And then also knowing that target market because, oh, it's small and mid-sized businesses. That's who we're going after. And I think the other one that I think is really funny is that I know we had a big conversation, we're like, we're a fintech company and that's what we do. And we wanted to put that in our mission statement. And Scott's like, no, guys, we do accounts receivable. We're like, no, but we could do
Exactly. You have to be very specific and do exactly what you do. You can't be everything to everyone. So focus on what you do. And sure, you can add in more services later on, but your core mission should be what your true business is. Whether you're a marketing agency and you're here to help B2B companies, whether you're like a little retail shop on the beach who sell surfboards, that's what you do. You're not, selling, condos. You're not doing this. So it really just has to be about what you do. So that's really all about the tip number one.
Okay, what's tip number two?
Tip number two, also very important, is to research your competitors. Now, this is important for multiple different reasons. The first reason is you want to see what's on the market. You want to understand how other people are branding. You want to understand how they're doing their marketing. You want to see their messaging. You want to make sure that you're developing something that's on par with what your competitors are doing. And to be honest, it should be better than what they're doing. So what I love to do is to look around and break down everything they do. I go to the website and I completely destroy the website. I click on everything, I read everything, I write down what I love about it, what I hate about it, and then I steal ideas. Not ideas about what they're doing, but more like, oh, I really like how they showed that graphic about what they do, or I really like that video. And then I like to take upon it, all that information, and improve upon it. So when we do websites, and I've done this so many different companies I worked with, from Genie to other companies, I take websites and I really just run with it. So look through what your competitors are doing and just make it a whole lot better. And it's okay to steal ideas. Just don't steal their messaging. Don't steal what they're doing. Just kind of look around and just use it more as an inspiration, I guess you can say, not really stealing. There's other things you should really look at as well. It's how they're actually doing their marketing. Are they doing email marketing? Are they doing, sign up for their mailing list, by the way. You'll get a lot of great information from what they're sending to their customers. Look at their social media platforms, see what they're using. Is it pertinent to what you're doing? So just kind of take all that information in and you really use it as a basis to help build your brand. It's a whole lot of research. I also recommend just doing a lot of Google research just for what other people in the market do, whether it's a SaaS company, whether it is a real estate company. See what other companies are doing and see what the trends are and try to be on the forefront of that trend. If not, you're gonna get left behind. So I also recommend talking to your peers, talking to your friends, to snowball some ideas with them, toss some ideas around. And your friends really will help steer you in the right way because they're not involved in the process and they will have some good feedback because they don't really care about your business. They're not in it every single day, you are. So that would be my second tip for people.
Dude, I know I've definitely talked to all of my friends who are watching. I know I've asked you all kinds of weird questions. I've shown you colors and they're like, what do you think? And, asked you about like, hey, is this website easy to use? How does this work? One of the things that, and Liz, thanks for joining and telling us this is great. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, let us know. We'd love to answer them. But in terms of like the website, I think one of the things that you also showed us as we were working on the Genie website is that it's not, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like as you were talking about going through the competition, if you look at some of these big brands, they've spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on their website. And I don't know about all of you, but we definitely do not have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on market analysis and, websites and to figure out who clicks where, when, and colors and stuff like that. So even looking at some of those big brands, which is what you were showing us, and seeing how they do things so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel and saying, well, this works for them, and this is how this landing page looks, or this is how this homepage is, and this is how they're using their form. It's such good information, and it's not about like stealing from your competitors. It's just about understanding that. So I think that that's such a great tip.
100%. That's a great way to put it. It's really just intel. It's really just understanding what everyone's doing. And once you get that down, you can really run with it and just really be inspired by what everyone is doing around you.
All right. What about tip number three?
Tip number three. Now this one is something that I don't think a lot of people expect, but or maybe they will expect it, but you have to understand this is a massive undertaking. Whether you're doing a rebranding, whether you're creating a new brand, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's going to be very expensive. Now, not expensive in a way that, oh, like I have to hire this marketing agency to do it for me. It's more about the time and value of money. So if you look at your role, whether you're the CEO, whether you're the VP of marketing, whether you're just a marketing assistant or a freelancer they've hired to help with this, it's going to take a lot of time. And you have to understand that you should not rush this. Your brand is very important. It's the first thing that people see. It's the first impression you have. You only have one time to make an impression. So you want to make it be as amazing as it can be. So you really need to understand it's going to be a massive undertaking. There's a whole lot of things that go into branding. From websites to business cards to flyers to marketing materials to presentations to understanding your color palette to figuring out your font to figuring out, okay, there's multiple variations of my font. When should I use this? So there's so much that goes into it that you don't even realize. So I really recommend that people Google, like it's going to sound really basic, but just Google like what do I need in a brand checklist, a marketing checklist for a new brand, something like that. And you'll find so many articles and blogs giving you ideas. And you don't need everything all at once. You really need to evaluate what it is you do and what needs you have right away. The biggest things I recommend that people do right away is the website. You have to have some sort of online presence. Even if you have social media, that's not enough. You need to have somewhere to drive people to learn about your brand and what you do, and also to convert them. So it's great. Oh, great. They signed up on social media. They love me. That doesn't translate into paying customers. So you really need to send them somewhere in order to be able to sign up for your services or buy your products or something. So your website's probably the number one thing. And it's probably going to be the thing that takes the longest. In my experience, I've had website redesigns take over a year. And not because, we weren't moving at a fast pace, it's because there's a lot that goes into it. And if you're doing this branding or rebranding while you're trying to build your company, it's going to be a lot of effort. And you have to understand that there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be a lot of writing. There's going to be a lot of design that goes into it. You got to collaborate with people who know how to actually do web design, web developers. So there's so much that goes into it. And just understand that it's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of pain, but you will get through it. And when you get done with this big undertaking of a rebranding or building your brand, it's going to feel amazing. And you're going to feel like you accomplished something really, really great. And it will show. Once people start seeing your brand, they're going to be like, oh my God, look at this. This is a brand new thing. Look how amazing it is. You really just got to put a lot of effort into it, and it will pass and it will work. I promise.
Okay. What about step number 4 or tip number 4?
Step number 4, and this is probably my favorite one and is the biggest thing that I see the most mistakes made on any kind of brand rebranding. Beautiful design is key to any successful brand. I don't care how good your product is, how great your messaging is, how great you can speak, how many sales you're making, how much hype there is in the market for whatever you're doing. If you have ugly design, people are going to immediately turn their nose up to you and be like, oh, well, I heard they're great, but look how horrible their brand looks. Like, think of how many great companies, especially mom and pop companies or companies that have been around for a long time who just don't really care about marketing. And you go to the website and it's from 2005. It just turns you away. Like, why can't they invest in something that looks good? So in my opinion, design is the most important part of branding. And I'm a big believer in simple, modern, clean design. I always try to be on the forefront of every single design trend. And design is something that I learned over time. It's not something I went to school with. I went to school for PR and marketing. I didn't go to school for design. So everything I've learned has been hands-on. And if you don't have a designer, there's a lot of great freelancers out there who will do amazing designs for really inexpensive. There's a lot of good websites you can go to, like I think it's called like Fiverr. There's a lot of good like freelance websites that you can buy really cheap designers easily, and they'll work with you. So modern design is very key to it. When people first see your brand, you have, like I said multiple times, you have one impression that they have, and it should be professional. Your colors should complement each other. If you're doing, say you have like a coastal boutique and you're using really dark, heavy blacks and reds, that doesn't really go along with what you're doing. You're at the beach. It should be bright. It should be blues. It should be yellows. It should be white. So make sure that whatever design you're doing fits in with your actual product or service. And I see so many mistakes all the time, and I get so many presentations sent to me and flyers sent to me that I just look at it. I'm like, this is horrible. Like, I don't even want to research you or even give you time of day because your design is so bad.
Okay. What about number 5?
Step number 5. So once you've done everything we've talked about, once you've figured out your messaging, once you research your competitors, once you've started figuring out exactly what you need to do with your brand in terms of all the marketing materials you need to make, and once you've designed all that and got it into production, you have it printed out, you have everything ready to go, don't rush the launch. You really need to understand that if you push all this out at once, it's going to be too much. You need to release it slowly over time. So I recommend you slowly start introducing the brand, whether it's introducing the website first, launching on social media, send it to your friends. I recommend when it comes to marketing materials, you test out a few marketing materials. Do a lot of A/B testing with your emails. Do a lot of A/B testing with your flyers. Seeing what works best. Figure out how it's working before you truly say, okay, this is my brand. This is how it's going to be. And a good example of that is here at Billogene. We came on board, about a year ago, and we switched our business model then, and we really didn't know exactly how to present it best. So it took a lot of effort and a lot of months and a lot of manpower with a lot of different people working to get our messaging down pat, to get our emails, to get all of our brand new website looking the way we want it to do. And it's okay to know there's going to be delays in it. And so just don't rush it. Slowly release it out. It's going to be okay. And that's really the last step in branding, is that launch. And it's critical to do that correctly.
Well, and I want to add one tip to that. It's knowing that even if once you launch something, you can change, it's iterative, right? So it doesn't have to be 100%. If I have 75 pages of my site, I don't need every single page that's like that's hidden, and I can test things and we can see how it works, and do people like it, and where are they clicking and where are they not clicking, and if it's a collateral, if it's a piece of marketing material, if it doesn't work, we can get more collateral. So I think that understanding, and I think that to me as a business owner is very, very hard. I think, it's great because I think you have talked about this so much. And I think that from a marketing professional's perspective, this, right? Like, you're aware of it and you're always like, oh, we can change it. But I think from a business owner's perspective, we're like, oh my God, we're getting it out. We spent so much time, we spent so much money, and it better be perfect. And oh my God, should we spend 3 hours trying to figure out what this sentence should say and how it should say it on the 37th page of clicks? And you think about all that, and then you kind of go back and you almost have to ground yourself and say, wait a second, it's iterative. We can change it. And one of the things that Scott says to me all the time is, it's copy. It's easy to change. Let's figure out, do we like the basics? Do we like how it seems, how it feels, how, the emotion that it invokes? Are all of those things right? And is it who we are? And if all of those things are right, dude, we can change the copy. We can add a box. And I know that that's been very helpful for me.
It's very true. So many times, especially when I had my agency, clients were like, I need this now. It's not perfect. And I'm like, it's okay. It can change. You can have a first draft. There are presentations we do right now that we have changed so many times, because as we're going along and talking to our subscribers, talking to customers, we're figuring out, oh, that's not actually working. This is, I guess, a final tip that isn't official, but understand that it's going to change over time, and it's okay for you not to understand exactly what you're doing. It's okay to make mistakes. Marketing is not 100% accurate. There are stuff you do, let's say at the beginning of the year, that will work, and for one company it's great, and then later in the year it's not going to work. You're like, why is it failing? Because marketing is all about trial and error, and it's okay to fail. I can tell you, I've had so many marketing campaigns that failed that I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Failed, horrible ROI, horrible results. And you have to learn to accept those failures and move on from it, because there are going to be amazing campaigns that will work and will drive revenue. And those are the ones you have to focus on. You don't focus on your 3 or 4 failures. You focus on that one amazing campaign that made the most money. I mean, look at Edison. How many times did he have to try to invent that light bulb? He didn't give up. So it's all about trial and error, and it's okay. Use the data that you're learning through all this trial and error to really support and figure out your next moves.
Awesome. If anybody has any questions, let us know. Otherwise, Scott, thank you so much for your time. This was a lot of fun. Sure. And if you guys have questions, concerns, anything like that, reach out to Scott. He'll help you out. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can email us here at Genie. We'll definitely connect you. He is fantastic at what he does, and he's definitely made a huge, huge, huge change here at Genie. So we appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining today.